The Giants only 2 games back of the wild card, a player profile on Christian Koss, and why we maybe should slow our roll. It's all coming up on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. My name is Alan Stiles. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay Area, but I live in Sacramento now, and I host a show at Sacktown Sports, the Alan Stiles Show at Sacktown Sports 1140, as well as emceeing games for the Sacramento Rivercats. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. The Giants continue to win. They're now only 2 games back. We are having a discussion on Christian Koss and his player profile and why nothing is resolved yet as far as 2026. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. The Giants continue to win. Stop me if you've heard this before, but it's just what they continue to do. Okay, another day, another win for the San Francisco Giants. This one was far from a blowout, 5-3 at Oracle Park. They did jump out to an early lead with that Willy Adames home run, but after that, they added to it and kept the Diamondbacks at bay, no pun intended. And at this point, they continue to be more and more impressive with each win that they notch on their belts because everyone knows what's on the line and they just won't quit. Going into St. Louis, we had conversations about, okay, people are going to be talking about you now, right? And they're continuing to win games. I know they lost that series, but they're continuing to win games at a high level. Matt Chapman, Jung-Hoo Lee, Casey Schmidt were all also part of the action last night. And once again, we're talking about Patrick Bailey, who is homered in 2 straight games. 2 straight games. We're talking about Patrick Bailey here. He's now hitting .333 in August, and all of a sudden, there's no talk about Adley Rutschman. There's no talk about who else is out there from the catcher position. We continue to say it does not take much to quiet the conversation if you are a catcher. And not only is he doing it right now, he's exceeding all of our expectations. At least he's exceeding my expectations. Robbie Ray, he battled. Lately, it hasn't been the prettiest that we've seen, but he is one of the best in the league at just giving your team a chance to win a game, right? That means competing at a high level and making sure that the game never gets out of hand. By the way, you got to think that the pitchers are just extremely confused at this point with what is going on and what they've been seeing with the Giants as far as the hitting is concerned after spending so much of the season begging for any semblance of offense, specifically timely offense. Now these guys are hitting it all over the yard. Doesn't matter whether they're at home, whether they're on the road. It does not matter. They're simply taking care of business. We look up yet again going into the game, and we all know that the Mets already lost and or are losing, and the Giants are simply smelling blood in the water. That's it. That's it. They're going into these games knowing, okay, cool. The Mets lost again. Let's take care of business. Let's do what we need to do. And that's really as simple as it gets. I think the interesting thing with how the Giants are getting it done now is I was going back with somebody about the Oracle Park stuff and how it's not really coming up now. And they're hitting home runs, obviously, but they're also, and that's why we're going to talk about Christian Koss, they're also just putting the ball in play, right? They're also just making sure that they're putting pressure on the defense. And I don't know if part of the home runs is just from, funny enough, shortening their swings. Well, Willy Adames is never going to shorten his swing. But if it's more so about, I'm just trying to make contacts, and here we go. Going back to Little League, right? They used to tell you, don't try to swing for home runs, just try to make contact, and if you make good enough contact, the home runs will come. That almost seems like what is happening with the Giants because they seem more focused on just putting the ball in play and making solid contact versus I'm trying to send the ball out the yard. So I was going back and forth, and, somebody found an old post tweet of mine. I don't know if we still call them tweets of mine saying, oh, well, since Alan said this, the Giants are right there with, I think it's actually the Mets with most home runs, which is funny because this idea that wins equal home runs, well, it has not done that for the Mets. So a lot has to go into this outside of simply, oh, well, we're hitting home runs so we win games. You have to hit timely home runs. You have to hit home runs with people on base, which is something that a lot of people are not talking about. The Giants, even during that bad stretch, they were hitting home runs. They were just hitting home runs with nobody on base. And it was really frustrating. They were just sprinkling a random home run here, a random home run there, but they were hitting home runs. They just couldn't string things together. Or they would hit home runs and nobody would be on base, right? They'd have two people on base, somebody would strike out. Then the next inning, Casey Schmidt would come up and hit a solo home run. That is the difference. The home runs, obviously, the volume is ridiculous. They're doing things that we haven't seen any other team do this season, but they're also doing it with people on base. They're also doing it in a timely manner. And that is something that nobody is really discussing. It's all about, oh, well, the home runs are coming out. They were hitting home runs during that rough stretch for the Giants, but nobody was on base. They weren't very timely. It just wasn't, it wasn't cohesive. Now everything is cohesive. So that's where the Giants have been able to kind of turn this thing around, as well as, yes, the sheer volume is up. But you look at what the pitchers have obviously done, and the Giants pitchers, they're always going to be around, and they're always going to give you a battle. The bottom of the rotation has been better, okay, but then you think about it and you wonder, well, has the bottom of the rotation been better, or have the Giants just been hitting more? Right? There used to be a time. I know that y'all remember. We're talking in July. We're talking in June. We're during that rough stretch where 3 runs looked like 30. 3 runs looked like 13 runs. So the pitchers, you're going out, and to use a kind of comparison to basketball, when you know that you have the bigger team, if you will, normally you shoot the basketball better because you're pretty confident that you're going to get the rebound. You feel better about everything going on. You have to be so fine. The pitchers felt like they had to be so fine during that stretch where the Giants simply could not hit and could not string things together, that I think it hindered them too. And now with them pitching in a looser fashion, understanding, hey, I give up 2 runs, it's okay. We're not completely done. That type of stuff matters. And that's how the Giants have been able to kind of figure this thing out, continue to keep everyone on the same page and on one accord. And the pitchers, I believe, are the ones that honestly are happier than Giants fans all across the globe, because they know that they can go out and feel good about what they're doing and not have to be literally perfect. Because when you feel like you have to be perfect, you start aiming pitches and you start missing big. And that's what was happening, I think, to some of them. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I believe, whoever it is at the bottom of the lineup should be a starter next season. I'm not saying that. But for this season specifically, I'm sure the Giants feel better as a whole about their pitching staff because they are giving them more run support, period. That's just what it is. So here we go. And it's close to time to believe. It is very, very close to time to believe. That's where it's at right now. Each game can change a ton, but the Mets just refuse to win baseball games. They refuse to win baseball games. Later in the show, we do discuss whether it's too soon to be excited, and I'll explain that as well. But when we return, we got a player profile on Christian Koss, the wiry infielder that the Giants took a swing on. Again, no pun intended, and it is paying dividends. Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root cause of thinning and shedding with proactive approaches. Okay. And I have a couple buddies that are extremely happy with Nutrafol, and it's awesome to see their confidence at an all-time high. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol for a limited time. Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Locked On MLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB. It's time for a player profile on Christian Koss. Let's talk about a guy who might not be on the tip of everyone's tongue, but probably should be. Christian Koss, the 27-year-old infielder, has quietly worked his way from being a non-roster invitee in spring training to a legit candidate for a bigger role with the Giants heading into 2026. The Giants singled him out back in March for his versatility and dependable defense, and all season long, Koss has done nothing but prove them right. A little bit about his background. Christian Koss was originally drafted in the 12th round of the 2019 draft by the Colorado Rockies out of UC Irvine. Shout out UC Irvine. He was shipped to the Red Sox in exchange for a pitcher in 2024. The Giants spent some cash to go get him, and they've seen some good ROI so far. Koss isn't going to wow you with huge numbers, but he's been steady at the plate. You know, he's been right there, 252, 3 home runs, 18 RBIs, and even a few stolen bases in just 151 at-bats this year. What's been most impressive when those have come, he's had very clutch moments in big games, including driving in runs during the 5-run rally that he had. He had that double that flipped that momentum for a player, who came into the year as a depth piece. Those are the kind of contributions that gets noticed. Defensively, he brings exactly what every manager wants. He's reliable and he's flexible. Okay, a former Big West Defensive Player of the Year, Koss can handle multiple infield spots, which is critical when you look at how uncertain the Giants' infield picture has been, right? Casey Schmidt is still trying to lock down a role. Tyler Fitzgerald, he was supposed to be the guy at second base, but, he's struggled at the plate. And Matt Chapman has had some injuries. So in that mix, Christian Koss has usually been a pretty safe bet to just like yesterday, keep the line moving. The bottom line is Christian Koss is the kind of player every single contender needs. He's affordable, he's versatile, and has proven he can step up when given the opportunity. If 2025 was his prove-it year, then 2026 could be the year that I think he graduates into a more regular role on this roster. The weird thing about things being crowded, okay, and I'll say crowded, I'm air quoting for those listening on the podcast, is that it's hard to have a conversation when you're fighting for the last wild card spot. I think as far as what is up for grabs, there's one spot, it's second base, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If they choose second base as a spot where they're going to let guys develop, then I'm good with it, right? And it can be Casey Schmidt to start the season, but after that happens, they make certain decisions. I'm not quite sure if Casey Schmidt or Christian Koss, if either one of them, right, is the second baseman for the next 5, 7, 10 years with the Giants. But for right now, I think they're exactly they're doing the right thing, and they're exactly what the Giants want to work with. We might not know the future for either of them, but clearly both of them feel as if they are doing the right things and the organization is happy with both of them. If you're asking me, and not that this is a full-on Casey Schmidt versus Christian Koss segment, but if you're asking me who has the higher ceiling, it is really tough. I'd probably say, I think that, and I know Christian Koss, people were going back and forth. Well, that Patrick Bailey error was actually on him. I think it's really tough defensively. Casey Schmidt has really impressed me at second. I think that's more so Christian Koss's calling card. Offensively, Casey Schmidt has more pop. I'd say he's a bigger guy. He has more pop. I was actually reading an article on Christian Koss. It was talking about how there's just no way he can gain weight, and he just hasn't been able to do that. So that was pretty funny. But Casey Schmidt has more pop. I think the funny thing is Christian Koss more so comes off as that contact type of hitter. But if Casey Schmidt is able to cut down on the strikeouts, then that might squeeze Christian Koss because his calling card is being contact hitter. If Casey Schmidt is more of a contact hitter and also is able to hit for that power that he has on Christian Koss, then things could be tough. But I think defensively, it's really tight right now. I'd probably give the edge. And when I say give the edge, they're so similar. I think the biggest difference is that Christian Koss can play shortstop in a pinch and Casey Schmidt doesn't. So that's a huge thing because that's a premium position. So what Christian Koss, I believe, gives up in hitting, he does gain with defensive versatility. If you're holding my feet to the fire, and I love when y'all do that, it's probably Casey Schmidt. But like I said, it's Casey Schmidt to start the season. I think Christian Koss is, again, I see him. I think this name that I'm about to say also had a little bit more pop. But I look at Christian Koss and I see Chris Taylor from the Smurfs, from the Dodgers. I see a Chris Taylor. I see somebody that you can put all over the yard, and he might not ever have a position, a full-on position. But again, this is the type of guy that hits a random home run in the playoffs. This is that guy. And I would say he's that type of guy. And I would also say that you could put him in that conversation. Another dude that the Smurfs had was Kike Hernandez. I think Kike Hernandez is another guy where he never really had a position, but these guys played in the league for a long time and they got some hardware. Unfortunately, it's for the Smurfs, but they got some hardware. So that's something that I believe, if I'm Christian Koss, and coaches always told me, you have to kind of model your game behind someone. If I'm Christian Koss, I look at what Chris Taylor did for the Dodgers for years, and I look at what Kike Hernandez did for the Dodgers and other teams for years, and I say, I'm going to be that guy. That's the type of guy, and that's what I'm looking to do. Somebody that you need. Now, he might bounce around. He might, the Giants might be okay with him hanging around. I think both guys that I just mentioned, I know Kike for sure, but I think both guys kind of boomeranged. They left, they came back as they kind of tried to find full-on positions, but they ended up going back to the Dodgers when it was all said and done. I think this could be something that Christian Koss, he has a breakout season in 2026 for whatever reason. Maybe he beats out Casey Schmidt. Then it might be, okay, cool, I'm going to see what else is out there. He might make his way back. Who knows? But I think he's just a winning player. He's just a dude. He's just somebody that plays baseball at a high level. And I think the Giants made the right call, giving up that cash to go get him. And like I said, man, you sneak into these playoffs. They got a lot of dogs. They got a lot of dogs that are going to be able to help the starters and that core get where they need to go. With all that being said, is it too soon to be excited about the San Francisco Giants? There is a final test staring them right in the face, and we are going to discuss it when we return. Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person. But actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees. It takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. Fees are included. Know your total upfront without no surprise fees at checkout. I love the zone deals. That section of the Game Time app, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download Game Time today. I've been reaching for my new favorite jacket almost every day, my Doer jacket. I love my Doer jacket and jeans because the jeans are made with Cool Max that regulates your body temperature and wicks away moisture. Keeps you cool and comfortable as temperatures change. Great for any season. Doer combines classic jeanswear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear, the best of both worlds. There's a reason they call them the world's most comfortable pants, but don't take our word for it. Go try a pair on yourself. Doer just opened a store right here in Hayes Valley so you can feel the difference firsthand. Go check them out at 567 Hayes Street. Mention our promo code LOCKEDONSF in store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online at shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF for 15% off. That's shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF. Should we actually slow our roll when it comes to the San Francisco Giants and what they're doing right now? Every single game matters. That is the most captain obvious thing I could say at this stage in the year. But the Giants still have 7 games against that big bad wolf of the division, the Smurfs down there in Los Angeles. They have been down. Okay, seems like they can't keep anybody healthy on the mound. But with 17 games left, I know college football just started, and it's different than Michigan and Ohio State because you play multiple times throughout the year. But it all comes down to those games, right? I told y'all yesterday how I get down from a psychological standpoint. It all comes down to those games, the sports psychology of playing the team that is leading the division, even though they're kind of fighting back and forth with the Padres. I mean, these are rivalry games. That's it. They're literally rivalry games. And in addition to that, we spoke yesterday about how Bob Melvin's job is safe. This thing can change from cute to catastrophe in a matter of about 4 days and 3 games if things don't go right. If they go down there, or if they bring, or the Dodgers come to town, they get swept, something crazy like that, this thing completely flips on its head. Completely flips on its head. After the show, I spent some time thinking about the idea of Bob Melvin being safe, and that's what we spent some of the show talking about yesterday. And honestly, I don't know if Buster has it in him. I still don't think he does. But at the same time, all that Giants goodwill that they have, there's a lot of time to fall off a cliff. There really is. And thank you to all the commenters that hopped on the actual episode and also on the YouTube short that I posted, because there is a lot of time, right? Each game that they win kind of pushes that away. But these 7 games, I think it kind of all comes down to this. All of the other stuff, again, going back to Michigan, Ohio State, you have to beat your rival. And Bob Melvin, I'm not sure if, let's say they go 2-5 against the Dodgers. I think Buster would be put in a tough spot and miss the playoffs, obviously. I think Buster would be put in a tough spot, and they might have a decision to make because it was in front of them. They are really close, the Giants are. They're really close from turning this thing to cute story to, again, having that E word that we discuss, those expectations. And the last time we saw the Giants with expectations, when they tried to trade it for Rafi Devers, it didn't look good. That's just the truth. Every single game is a battle. And right now, the Giants are embracing all of it. I talked to a couple people that continue to remind me, look, if they don't make the playoffs, Bob is still on the brink. Goodwill or no goodwill, there's still enough time for this moment that the Giants are having to just be a blip in what was otherwise an unsuccessful second half of the season. That's the truth. And that's what literally I have heard. And the thing is, I heard all this before the Giants just completely went on the hottest stretch ever. But I think I just kind of got talked back yesterday, with the conversation that I had. Look, Alan, this idea that Bob Melvin is all of a sudden can't do any wrong. I think the teammates or the team loving him is really his best argument. And Buster will have to decide whether he wants to just take the team for what they want or whether Buster has to do what he thinks is best for the squad and for the organization. But this thing could get real squirrely if they don't take care of business against the Dodgers. It really all comes down to that. Now, they just put themselves in a tough spot. They have nobody to blame but themselves, because in order for that to actually matter, they still have to win these games. If the Mets go out and win again, all the Mets, they're really just kind of close here, but all they have to do is essentially just win in a couple, and the Giants just aren't losing also, but win and hold serve. That's all they had to do. But the Giants, 13 of 16 now, they're hotter than fish grease. They're the hottest team in Major League Baseball, and the Mets know that. But with all that being said, you take on this Dodgers team, and again, rivalry matchup, throw records out the window. I know it's a cliche, but throw records out the window. Alan, the Dodgers haven't played well. I don't care. It's the Dodgers. It's the Smurfs. It's that team in LA. I do not care. Nothing is off limits. They're going to put their best foot forward. The Giants need to do the same. And if they don't, all of this stuff and everything that everyone has felt really happy about, it's going to matter because we still enjoyed it. But as far as Bob Melvin's job is concerned, I do think that there will be at least some conversations that get re-brought up. Do I ultimately think Buster will have the audacity to do that, for lack of a better term? I don't know, because it has been a really good stretch. But in a long season, you're looking at 162 games. Buster will have to say, did they have more good than bad? And maybe it's as simple as saying, are they over 500 or not, right? For this kind of first year with the pieces that have all been added, these big money pieces with Rafi Devers, everything like that. But part of adding Rafi Devers was to essentially make a move this season and be in the playoffs this season. They thought they were ahead of schedule. They got Rafi. They ended up behind schedule. And now they're pretty much on schedule, maybe slightly behind, because Buster was hoping they'd be in the playoffs. But I think that where they're at right now is pretty realistic. And maybe they're in a better spot if they don't make some of the other trades. But are they here without Drew Gilbert? I don't know. And that's just the vibe that he's bringing to the dugout. Didn't have a knock yesterday, but just everything that he's bringing, and he's been hot. So I just think they needed an infusion of new energy, and they don't get that if they don't make that trade. And they can go get Tyler Rogers in the offseason. But will Bob Myers have a job by then? I think a lot matters what they do against the Dodgers. So maybe it is a little too soon, but if you want to do it, you can do it anyway. Thank you for watching and listening to Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow me on social media at @the_Styles Files, Styles with an I, and also follow our main account, Locked On Giants. And thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every single day. For your second listen, find All Night Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night until a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We will talk to you tomorrow. We'll see what the Giants can do. Until then, peace.